It's just not going to be easy.
Let's hear from Afenyo-Markin also. When you listen to the presentation done by Bright Simmons and you hear also from Dr. Theo Champong, I don't know what you have to say, first of all, before you go into your own analysis of the circumstances, including what you feel is likely to give. We just mentioned the feeding program, for example. Send Ghana, the NGO that has been doing a lot of work in this area, has been asking that it should be increased to 2 cedis, and that's almost impossible so far. People ask themselves questions. If you can't spend 2 cedis to feed a child in the school per meal, then what sort of meal are you giving to that, child?
I just go and say that 75.
75 pesos. So correct. That's about. Yes, go ahead.
Well, Leonard, thank you for the opportunity. It's good to listen to my brother. Let me commend the earlier contributors for their industry, and they've given us their own views. I have some few disagreements. Of course, a theorist is likely to carry away with his views. We combine theory and the practical work of politics. So definitely my duty is to deal with the issues that perhaps through their theory they fail to relate to the practical challenges that we're facing. First of all, I think Bright made a point which I consider very misleading. And to the extent that he says that less than half of the members of IMF have gone for support, I think that was the impression he created. I just want to state categorically that as it is today, about 100 plus members of the IMF have gone to the IMF for support in one way or the other. It depends on which...
They went when? I think
it's a matter of public...
That's the propaganda that people have been trying to explain. The government should stop using that refrain because it doesn't wash.
If you allow me...
No, it's only a matter of fact.
So what I'm saying is that it depends on IMF. You go there for technical support.
Mm-hmm.
You go there for financial support. Like you said, it's like, the body mounted surveillance monitors every economy in the world. So is it not true that about 100 members of the IMF currently are on a program in one way or the other?
I kept quiet for you. And that is triggered by COVID and Ukraine. Because the countries that went to the IMF even before COVID have been lumped up in that number and claim that COVID has hit everybody and they are running to IMF. Ghana too is going, so no problem.
Okay, so let me make my point.
All right.
I am saying that currently more than 100 members of the IMF are with the IMF for support in one way or the other. Fact. 2, if you want to distinguish between those countries that applied earlier and those that applied post-COVID, that's a different matter. But I would want to make the point, very categorical, that as it is today, we have specifically 101 countries who are members of the IMF having a program with the IMF. Now, my colleague tried to do some politics, and because we are in competition and he tries to say that they did better in government than us, it is important I point out some of the inaccuracies in his earlier submission. First of all, the growth they left us with in 2016 was 3.4%. Pre-COVID growth in this country was 6.3%. You left us with an inflation of 15.4%. Pre-COVID inflation in Ghana was 10.8%. And then, of course, T-bill was far, far higher at the time you left office. Pre-COVID T-bill was 12%. These are facts that you cannot deny. Now, if you remember, Christine Lagarde granted the interview to Graphic and indicated clearly that because of the discovery of oil, your government then was carried away and you were doing more of expenditure without properly doing investment that would yield results. And that was the reason why you were going to them for support. I mean, That was categorically stated. You did not deny that fact. Now, what have we done as a government? NPP came into office with an ambition to relieve the ordinary Ghanaian of the pain. What did we do practically? One was the introduction of the free SHS. Spending money to educate our populace was our prime concern. Two, Ghanaians were complaining about the burden of paying high electricity tariffs. Major announcements were made. We didn't do propaganda. Major announcements were made where households benefited up to 18% in rebate. Industries got up to 25 to 30%. These can also be cross-checked from PURC. Now, these were all before COVID. Taxes were abolished and some were also reduced. Now, let me also state for the records that until the introduction of the E-levy, the NPP government had not done any major introduction of taxation in this country. Yeah, I said, the first major fiscal policy decision in terms of taxation. Check your record. The first major taxation policy introduced by this government was the E-levy. First major. Tell me other taxes that we introduce all over. So our focus.
So if you say other taxes, then there will be a list.
I'm saying
Once you say major,
yes,
I think you are using major.
Yes. Excuse me. Excuse me.
You know,
your impatience is going to obstruct our free flow.
But Afenyo, when you speak about,
I say that our major
when you speak about scrapping some taxes,
yes,
and cushioning,
you did less interruption,
and cushioning Ghanaians,
yes.
The question is, are you referring to that to make any blame? Because you say you are managing the economy competently well, and therefore you can afford to reduce some tax, and then you did that. Why should we have reference to that today?
Okay, so
if you say in COVID we sustained whatever and paid whatever, the question that is asked to you, which we hardly get an answer to, is how much did the World Bank, the IMF, and the Bank of Ghana collectively give to Ghana as COVID support? That's humongous amounts of money.
Lennon, our friends focused on the debt. My job in government is to focus also on the investment made. How much relief we brought to the ordinary Ghanaian. You are talking about Côte d'Ivoire, that Côte d'Ivoire is doing better. What major steps did Côte d'Ivoire take to relieve its populace during the COVID time? Did they provide free water? Did they provide food to support the many who were poor?
The people there will ask you, how many Ivorians died as a result of COVID?
You are allowed.
How many Ivorians died as a result of COVID? If you raise controversial issues,
I'm not raising controversial issues.
How many Ivorians died as a result of COVID compared to Ghana? That's also a question to ask.
Well, but we also know that.
And today, the Ivorians, the taxi driver, the taxi driver or the trotro driver will show you that he is paying almost twice for fuel than his counterpart is paying in Ivory Coast. So the comparison just is simply obvious.
You are comparing. You are saying Ivory Coast is doing better. You introduced Ivory Coast. You made that relative statement, and I'm not entitled to a reply or response.
Please go on.
Exactly. You're saying that Ivory Coast is doing better. And I'm saying that to what extent? Like our cocoa farmers in Ghana. Ghana government is subsidizing more for our cocoa farmers than in Ivory Coast. Check the records. Ghana government is paying more to the cocoa farmer in Ghana than in Ivory Coast. It comes at a cost because you want to help the cocoa farmer. So you cannot compare Ivory Coast.
Dr. Champon showed the table.
Oh, and he's shown you.
Yes, the table is a fact. It's not a theory matter.
He's shown you a table. A table saying what? Is that table categorizing specific interventions made by Ivory Coast during the COVID time?
Your sovereign debt vulnerability.
Oh, please. That is what he said. I'm saying something different. sovereign debt vulnerability, we saw it, we rank second. I am saying that you brought in Ivory Coast, and I'm saying that the intervention that we introduced during the COVID, if we want to really compare, can we say that Ivory Coast did the same? Even for farmers, the support we are providing the Ghanaian farmer, cocoa farmer, is Ivory Coast doing the same? So don't let us look at them in absolute.
Because of the
form.
cost of fuel, you know how much fertilizer prices have gone to now. They are hitting the roof and the farmers are crying. So if in Ivory Coast he will buy fuel, far less than you buy in Ghana, that's the question I'm asking. How does this comparison really work?
Now, did Ivory Coast government inherit, or did Ivorian government have to invest so much to resolve a banking sector crisis? We came in when, at the time, they themselves, and he has introduced the partisan argument, so I need to respond to him. When President Mahama himself, in his address to Parliament, had conceded that lack of supervision by Bank of Ghana had led to some failures in the financial sector. Records have it that there were technical advice given the government to clean up. They failed to do that. We were met with that situation. We had to take a bold step, clean it up, and pay the ordinary Ghanaian who had lost his money.
There too, you have been asked the question. You need 25 billion Ghana cedis to resolve a problem that will cost how much? Not twice the amount. People have been asking that question too. Just this week, the High Court, the Court of Appeal, said one of those decisions in revoking UniCredit was wrong, was unfounded. So people have made the argument that it's your choice, that this is the way to resolve the problem. And some say your approach was wrong in taking, the same paintbrush over all of the banks when some relatively could have been helped with the money to rather stay afloat.
Well, government was of the view that it would serve the best interest of the country to take that decision. But what I'm saying again is that having to pay people their money back, people had lost their money. It came at a cost to government to pay these monies. Would government have said that this is a private sector decision and that I will do nothing about it?
No, that was your choice.
Even as we speak, there are still people who have to be paid. Okay? So that must be understood or appreciated in that context. We come back to the issue of even the gov't. That sub-sector in the educational sector. Apart from free SHS, government made huge investment. Today, if you go to all the vocational training schools across the country, you go and meet huge investment made. Practically, people can see equipment, buildings, and all that. So it is not the case that this government folded its arms, has incurred debts, and all that. No, that is not the argument. If you look at all the numbers, pre-COVID, we were doing better. Well, we were compelled to rely on our own internal policies, believing that, we were going to have a smooth ride. Introducing the E-levy was a major decision taken by government to help, get revenue to support our budget. But what have we experienced? We are not getting the needed revenue. Government has been open to say that, look, because of this situation, we need to rely on our external partner, the IMF. Is it wrong going there? No. It depends on the conditions that will take you there. Our case is that, look, having gone through COVID, which none of us anticipated, COVID did not take a month. COVID did not take weeks. COVID, persisted for at least 2 years. And even now, though the COVID situation has come down, but its cascading effects are still there. Companies that closed down have not recovered. When Ghana is not an exception, all over the world. Companies that suffered, the private sector that suffered as a result of COVID have not fully recovered. Then the situation got complicated with this Ukraine-Russian war. Aren't we getting iron rods from Turkey, Ukraine? Those companies that are importing. It's a serious challenge. It's affecting the housing sector because everything is now expensive. And then the agricultural sector. Just returning from a program in Morocco on food security. And if you look at what countries are reporting, it's scary. So to me, the private sector financing door, which appears to be shut, can only be open if we have a policy credibility program with the IMF. Once we are with them, it does not to me also mean that IMF is going to impose its own conditions, but the IMF is going to sit with the country. What are your policies? What do you intend to do? And then hand in hand, we work together to achieve results that will be in the best interest of the country.
Okay, for a long time now, the IMF doesn't impose its own conditions, so to speak. So I also believe that it's a matter of fact that we always have to keep things accurate. When in 2015, Ghana went to the IMF, the IMF didn't bring its own, conditions.
I haven't said so that in 2015,
that's a narrative.
Well,
this time around we are going and we have to take our own program,
Well, right. So I haven't said that. I haven't said what you are saying. Okay. But if you have an impression of a narrative, that's a different matter. What I'm saying is that going to the IMF means going with your program and jawing on it,
right,
and getting the best solution out of it for your own country.
Right.